Thank you, Chairman. Director Coates, in this hearing last year, you testified that you would recommend minimal access to classified documents to anyone without a permanent security clearance. You made that statement with regard to reports of multiple holders of interim security clearances in the White House. And now we are seeing published reports that dozens of times the White House has overruled the career FBI experts responsible for adjudicating security clearances, granting top secret clearances to White House officials. Would you still recommend minimal access to classified documents to those White House officials since FBI experts recommended that they not be given those top secret clearances?
I do support the providing all the information necessary for not only the White House, but for all of our branches relative to providing security clearance. They have those authority to do that. We issue guidelines in terms of what
I understand they have the authority.
Adhered to.
I want to know, do you think that, that the White House should take seriously the recommendations of those FBI experts?
To my knowledge, they do take seriously. It is their decision based on a whole number of factors. We've seen every administration issue clearances based on how they assess what is provided. Our job is to provide them the best information we have relative to security clearance processes so that they have the full picture in front of them when they make that decision.
Speaking of the full picture, last year we passed the Secret Act. As the Director of National Intelligence, do you think it's problematic that the administration has not complied with the portion of that law requiring the White House to report on its process for conducting security clearance investigations?
I'm not aware that that has happened. I'd be happy to look into that.
I would appreciate that. Director Wray, as I mentioned, we're seeing published reports that numerous times the White House has simply overruled career FBI experts responsible for adjudicating those clearances. In your view, were there valid reasons given for why the FBI's expert advice was overruled so many times?
Senator, I think there may be some confusion about the way the process actually works. The FBI is, in the context of providing background investigations for people other than its own employees, is what's called an ISP, or the investigative service provider. So we essentially do it at the request of whoever the requesting entity is. In this instance, it would be the White House. And I think where the confusion is what we do is we assemble the information, we provide the factual information. We do not actually make recommendations one way or the other about the clearances. The decision about what to do based on those facts is entrusted by longstanding process to the requesting entity. So we provide the information, but then they make the call.
Thank you, Director. Director Coates, I want to come back to you for a moment. Your office issued a statement recently announcing that you had submitted the intelligence community's report assessing threats to the 2018 midterm elections to the President and to appropriate executive agencies. Our committee has not seen this report. And despite committee requests following the election that the ODNI brief the committee on any identified threats, it took ODNI 2 months for us to get a simple oral briefing, and no written assessment has yet to be provided. Can you explain to me why we haven't been kept more fully and currently informed about those Russian activities in the 2018
Director
elections?
Coates, before you respond, let me just acknowledge to the members that the Vice Chairman and I have both been briefed on the report, and it's my understanding that the report at some point will be available.
Yeah, the process that we're going through are 2 45-day periods. One for the IC to assess whether there was anything that resulted in a change of the vote or tampering with machines, what the influence efforts were, and so forth. So we collected all of that, and then the second 45 days, which we then provided to the chairman and vice chairman, and the second 45 days now is with DHS looking and DOJ looking at whether there's information enough there to take to determine what kind of response that they might take. We're waiting for that final
so the rest of us
information to come in. So that will be
the rest of us can look forward to reading that report.
I think we will be informing the chairman and the vice chairman of that, yes, of their decisions.
That's not what I asked. Will the rest of the committee have access to that report, Mr. Chairman? Chairman Burr?
Well, let me say to members, we're sort of in uncharted ground, but I make the same commitment I always do, that anything that the vice chairman and myself are exposed to, we'll make every request to open the aperture so that all members can see it. I think it's vitally important, especially on this one. We're not to a point where we've been denied, or we're not to a point that negotiations need to start. So it's my hope that once the final 45-day window is up, that is a report that will be made available probably to members only.
That would be my hope as well.